What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earth Master here on the live stream with this update here on this Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 date. It's about 11:38 a.m. California time, and the latest quake on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 1.7, not a big quake, up in Alaska. Also some movement with a 2.9 in Western Australia popping up there on the globe. I want to jump into some earthquake activity real quick right off the bat. Of course, movement into the California region, looking pretty active today and over the last 24 hours. Let's go ahead and check out the latest map here on the USGS page. We can definitely see quite a bit of uptick from the swarming yesterday around this area of the state. This little swarm kicked off yesterday, about 22 earthquakes. We haven't seen anything significant happen, in the last 10 hours, so no further quakes to report here. But it was a pretty good swarm, about 22 earthquakes, including a 3.3 or 3.5, the largest in that cluster of quakes there, up in the mountains there, but it's on an unnamed fault system. You got the Elsinore fault system here, but a little bit further south, there's a couple unnamed faults, but some well-defined faults up there in the mountains around Earthquake Valley. So up here further north, seen some further movement into the San Jacinto Fault Zone, but I kind of want to skip that for now and point out some movement taking place here on the Garlock Fault structure. Now this zone right here is a shear fault system. Kind of see it going across here. It's not like all the other ones as far as fault systems go here in Southern California. Most of the time you got these running northwest to southeast, north to south, but this one kind of goes against the grain, right? It's a pretty well defined feature in Southern California. Of course, it does create part of the grapevine over here around the Fraser Park, Tehachapi Mountains area. So this earthquake activity struck up last night. We've seen a 3.5 earthquake hit the Garlock Fault structure dead on, including a 3.0, 1.3, and a 0.9. So a little spotty in activity, but the significance of it is that it took place directly on this fault structure. I do want to go into a little bit of info on the Garlock Fault structure. It is a shear fault system with a slip rate between 2 and 11 mm a year, with an average slip of around 7 millimeters. So not a super big accumulator of stress, right? But it's there. And if you want to look at the dates, the last time a significant rupture on the Garlock Fault happened, looks like it was thought to be in the years 10,050 or 1050, 10,050, 1050 AD and 1500 AD. So it's been over what? Well over 500 years. Research has pinned the interval between significant ruptures on the Garlock as being anywhere between 200 and 3,000 years. So that's just an estimate of a researcher. But keep in mind, it's been quite a while. And also depending on the segment of the fault, looks like the most recent notable event, which was only a 5.7, occurred near the town of Mojave back in 1992. So, the significance of this is that it's been quite a while since we've seen the significant earthquake activity on this Garlock Fault structure. And the thing that kind of worries me a little bit is the connection over here to the San Andreas Fault. Okay, now the southern segment extends right around here to the south around Salton Sea, but you get a large enough earthquake here on this Garlock Fault structure, possibly could trigger the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. It looks like, let's see here, following a series of earthquakes on nearby minor faults in the late July 2019 time period, that's after the Ridgecrest earthquakes, the Garlock Fault was observed moving about 2 centimeters between July and October, accompanied by numerous minor earthquakes, a state known as fault creep, and producing a bulge inland. So it produced a bulge inland observed by satellite radar imagery. Did you hear about that in the news? I don't remember hearing about that, but here it is on the Wikipedia article. When you look up the Garlock Fault It is a 250 kilometer, 160 mile long fault system, one of the most prominent geological features in the southern part of the state, of course. And I've been over there a couple times throughout that region. So with this activity here occurring, not only in the Garlock Fault structure, but the swarming that we've seen down south here, and the overall uptick in seismic activity along the west coast, going to watch this for a potential earthquake watch here over the next couple days. It's very possible nothing will happen, but it's been a while since we've seen activity directly on the Garlock Fault structure. So issuing that watch here for the region. This thing's capable of producing an 8.0 magnitude earthquake, they said. And that would be pretty definitely devastating here. Reports in the Los Angeles Times indicated that a magnitude 8 earthquake along the Garlock Fault would have the potential for grave disaster. So not only for the region out here, say an 8.0 on the Garlock Fault, I see it triggering the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. With over 300 and something years built up of strain here along the southern section, yeah, I firmly believe that any kind of bump, little trigger, little bump could definitely set that thing off. So 2 8-pointers in Southern California would definitely be devastating for sure. But you got to remember the bulge, right? They mentioned about a bulge down there. That's kind of odd, right? That's a major strain and pressure. If you can see a bulge in land observed by satellite, tell me that's not some serious stuff down there in Southern California. And I think it's going to happen soon. I really do. It's long overdue, right? For one, and there's just been too much movement happening around the globe and with the Pacific Plate for it not to happen. But you never know. It could be tomorrow. Could be right now. Could be in 100 years. But 100 years, I don't see that. Looking up north here, aside from the Garlock Fault structure activity, the southern section of the San Andreas Fault quiet for now. There's not a whole lot going on specifically on it, and a lot of times we don't see activity. So that leads me to believe there that it's just waiting to pop. Up north along the eastern Sierra Nevada, getting a little activity kick up here. Seen some movement. Let me go back here to the 2.5 and above. We had some activity here. This one kicked up last night near Independence, a 3.2 in the mountain ranges over here, just off of the Owens Valley fault system, and some activity way up in the Sierra Nevadas, 2.6, 18-kilometer deep earthquake there. So originally, within this area, we're definitely looking at quite a bit of strain. And the shear fault system, got to remember what's going on with it as the rest of the plates kind of move and do their own thing. It's got this, I've said it before, this thing here is highly underrated in terms of what it could be capable of, and people just tend to overlook it. Let's see here, going up north, some movement up into the Nevada area. Northern California section looking pretty active out there today with the Calpine operations around Cobb Mountain, hydrothermal operations, creating energy, but also creating earthquakes. Off the coast of Oregon into the Pacific side of the plate boundary here, you got the Blanco fracture zone and the Gorda plate, Gorda ridges right here as well. We had a 3.4 at 18 kilometers. Now that's kind of deep for just being the Pacific out here. Kind of want to see if this thing has been reviewed. It has been reviewed, so it's rather odd to see a super deep quake like that way out there. Into Washington and Oregon, a little spotty activity. We'll check out the volcanic seismographs here in a second. We are noticing some swarming activity going on up here in Montana. A little swarm here in this valley near the Finley Point, Montana. Very shallow, or very small earthquakes. The depths are somewhat shallow, about 1 kilometer or so down to about 8 kilometers in this area of the valley. I'm sure there's fault systems that do run through here, although they're not showing up here on the map. They run through that, or at least on the side of that little valley. Yellowstone National Park, not a whole lot to report there at the moment. We'll check out that map, the seismographs here in just a second. New Mexico, quiet, low activity, a little bit of, if you notice, yesterday we only had about one earthquake or so out here. It seems like in the southern plains and western Texas, a little noticeable increase today, not a significant uptick, just a couple more added on to the map. And out here in the South Carolina area, looks like they did have some activity overnight with another 2.9. This area has seen a little bit of swarming here. People wondering what's going on out there. Well, over the last few months or so, excluding the last 30 days, they get these periodic swarms that kick off up here. And I did a little bit further update on this area. I will link it into the end of this video as a what to watch next here on YouTube. So you guys can check out that. Kind of dug into it a little bit more on the plate system out here and fault systems that run through this region. And I don't believe this is fracking or oil rig operations at all, but more or less plate dynamics and fault systems out here that run through this region. There's faults pretty much everywhere if you really think about it. Some are just long gone and no longer active, and some are still just kind of sleeping and slowly building up strain. But swarms do come and go in that area. But check for that video at the end of this video. Eastern seaboard pretty quiet up north. Puerto Rico, let's go back to the all magnitudes here. Puerto Rico, a little activity here around the southwestern portion and some further movement way outside of St. John's. Guadalupe, 4.4 at 10 kilometers outside of the Caribbean plate here. South America region, still seeing some activity. Look at this earthquake. Holy smokes. Here we go with that deep movement once again into the Peru-Chile Trench. Almost 600 kilometers, folks. That is some deep activity once again into the area of South America. We haven't seen any significant large-scale movement like I've been mentioning in my videos here along this area of South America in quite some time. Yes, we had that 7-pointer up here up in Peru a couple months ago, but down here, it's something to watch pretty closely, man. With this deeper earthquake activity, we're looking at some ramping up of stress rates up here. A lot of accumulated stress when we see these deeper quakes building up along the subduction zone. So watching that area pretty closely. We have seen a noticeable increase here in the South Sandwich Islands area. All this activity kind of kicking up following the earthquake activity throughout the Atlantic here a couple days ago. We had some earthquake movement up here north of Greenland or north of Iceland, and some movement down south here into the South Atlantic Ocean, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge area. So since then, we've been seeing a little swarm of activity here along this area, South Sandwich Trench region. 5.2, 5.1, and a 4.8. Some of it deep. The last one was a 4.8 here, kind of kicking up, getting things going. Let's see what we got here. Some activity trying to increase here around the New Zealand area. I've talked about this area too. Lack of large-scale movement following all the deep subsequent movement up north and all the sixes and whatnot here along the Indonesia, Philippine plate. Just kind of another watch zone. You kind of watch these areas that have not seen any sufficient movement. That should have had at least upper 5 or 6 by now. And so far we've only seen a couple 4s. Looks like 5.2 did kick up as well yesterday. The latest quake of 4.6. This one pretty deep. And I think you guys know what's down here in this area, the Hikurangi subduction zone. 296 kilometers for that 4.6. Still a lot of uncertainty on this. Not a lot of historical data on the Hikurangi subduction zone, but I did cover that as well in a little bit more detail in one of my past videos. Just have to search it up, and the possibility of a mega quake along the Hikurangi. But that's deep, super deep into that area. Up here around the Vanuatu and the Solomon Islands area, a couple 4s. I did see a 5.6 here, looks like earlier this morning in that area, and some further movement outside of Papua New Guinea. Of course, we've seen that 6.3 yesterday. One little aftershock with a 5.3 in that region. And over around the band to see some further activity. Philippine plate, though, has gone quiet today. See, it comes and goes. You get these little swarms of large earthquakes, and that's kind of what we've been noticing here. Southwestern portion of Philippine plate and up off the coast of Taiwan and Japan region. But today, a different story. So things definitely possibly could be done here for now as we wait and see what happens along this area, along the Kermadec Trench southward. Like I say, the teeter-totter effect does play a big, kind of like it plays out the day. When you notice lack of activity out here, we tend to see things kick up pretty significantly on the west coast here, along the eastern part of the Pacific plate. So one earthquake, though, along the Japan Trench, 4.6 at 10 kilometers. The rest of the trenches up here, Japan, Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, all quiet. The Aleutian Trench, about the same. Only a couple spotty earthquakes up here through the mainland of Alaska, around Denali. And let's see what else we got. Checking out the rest of the world here. Did have some movement here in Tanzania. I could have swore there was an earthquake down here around the South Africa area. Maybe that was on the EMSC model. But we did have 4.3 in the Tanzania area earlier today. Checking out the EMSC model. We'll bring this up here real quick and see if I can find that quake. Maybe it's gone. Let's see here. Oh, no. Let's see. Okay, it was a little bit smaller than what was shown on the map. Looks like a 3.2 in that area around the see exactly where that's at. I'm not for sure. North of Cape Town. Not going to sit here and look through it all, but it did pop up on the map. There it is, a little 3.2 in the mix there. 10-kilometer depth there for that earthquake. All right, let's go back here. I wanted to check out the volcanic map here real quick. Volcanic activity. This is the tremor map once again from yesterday. Little activity up in the north and the south part of the Cascadia. Volcanic seismicity here at Mount Rainier. This area has been seeing a little bit of swarming kicking up along with Mount St. Helens, but we'll check this out first and see what we got going on here. All right, let's see here. Yep, whoa. Little earthquake activity ramping up here at Mount Rainier. And these blue spikes, red ones. All earthquakes, all microquakes, but definitely a little bit of uptick there at Mount Rainier. And of course, a lot of these within the last couple hours, it looks like. Check out Mount St. Helens, see if we got any further movement going on here. A couple earthquakes being reported by the PNSN. One earthquake, a 0.6. Go ahead and check out the dome station up here on top of beautiful Mount St. Helens. Looks like earlier this morning, late last night, looks like a little small earthquake activity. And a couple of them throughout the morning. Some very small ones. I don't know if you guys can even see those. They are super duper small. Let's see if I can bring back the, there we go. But nothing really to take note of. And the previous day time frame, seen about the same thing. A couple small, very small microquakes here at Mount St. Helens. So no significant earthquake activity to report. Some S waves from the earthquakes yesterday showing up, which is pretty cool. Yellowstone National Park. We'll check out the movement here, and it looks like, what do we got here? One little earthquake, it looks like, maybe right here within the last hour. Kind of showed up slightly on a couple of these other stations. Actually, it looks like the epicenter here is around the Maple Creek region with that well-defined signature of the quake. Not a big one, probably under 1.5 is what I'm guessing. But no other large-scale movement or activity to take note of. A couple small quakes around the Lake Butte area. But overall, things kind of calm there at the Yellowstone National Park region there in Wyoming. Solar weather activity, that's another story. We're going to jump over there real quick. We've seen an X flare kick off this morning, a pretty strong one too. Check out that X flare, X 1.5 up there on the chart. Looks like it did produce a CME. Kind of want to check into that real quick. I was looking at these different views of the sun here. We're going to check out this 48-hour video. I don't know if it's going to be able to show the flare, but it came from this spot right here. A lot of times you can see a CME being produced on this type of image here. So let's see if we can find the flare right there. Looks like there was a possible small CME being kicked off from that Earth-directed X flare. Let's check that out once again here. It's a beautiful sight, and it was angled right at us. Right there. So yeah, we'll check this out in the coming throughout the coming hours. See if I can get a better shot of the CMEs possibly being directed at us. But we will keep an eye on that pretty closely. And again, this came from a sunspot. I believe it's 3006. Let me go over here and check this out on the Solar Ham site. Yeah, here's these guys right. And apparently X flares are popular nowadays. Yes, they are. We're going towards the solar maximum. An X 1.5 event was observed today around Earth-facing sunspot 3006. So that is the culprit. And looking at it, man, it's sometimes it's hard to tell when you look at the dynamics of the intermixing of the polarity of the fields here. It's somewhat hard to tell. But this thing did pop off an X flare. And this one over here, 3007, looking pretty mixed up and intermingled as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on this, see how this plays out for some future activity. And this could be updated according to if this thing did produce a CME. I don't think it was a significant one. Even if it's a little one, though, it could impact the 3-day geomagnetic forecast here for the forecast. But we'll see how that plays out. Look at that beautiful shot of the X flare from these folks here at the solarham.net site. That was earlier this morning, creating a radio blackout, strong R3 radiation storm there. Looks like that was centered over the Atlantic Ocean, creating some radio blackouts there on that sunlit side of the Earth, like I said a couple hours ago. Coronal holes, we've got a little one about ready to rotate into view. This could also play a part in the solar weather observed here on Earth in the coming days. We'll keep an eye on that area as well. So let's see what else we got. I think that's about it, folks. I'm going to jump out of here. I will be watching the earthquake activity in Southern California. I still think we got a chance with all the ramping up right now of swarms. I'm going to issue the Southern California Earthquake Watch there on the stream. And just keep an eye on things. Like I say, when we see direct activity happening on a fault system that's, well, it's been awfully quiet for large-scale activity over 500 years, the Garlock Fault, that is, you know, there's definitely got to be a little bit of strain built up. And looks like maybe some folks think that an 8.0 is possible on that Garlock Fault structure. So whenever there's that type of swarming going on a fault, we do like to keep an eye on it, that's for sure. So, all right, guys, I'm going to jump out of here. We do have another chance of thunderstorms today. I've kind of just been playing it by ear. If anything does pop off, I will be going live here on the stream. Yesterday we just had some cold rain, but no thunderstorms here, so unfortunately. But today could be a little different story. We'll see. All right, guys, we'll chat to you a little bit later tonight with the update, unless something major happens between then. Take care and stay safe out there. Have a good day.